Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Adrienne and today I'm starting a new update series. If you aren't aware, I'm currently working on bringing down the amount of books in my physical TBR. I have hundreds, so as I purchase, read, or unhaul books from my physical TBR, I thought I would make a little series that might be quarterly so we can go over what books have gone off of and came onto my physical TBR. I don't have a goal number quite yet. I think I'm going to have a goal worked out by like January 1st so I can set a goal for 2022 for what number to bring it down to. But for now, we're just tracking it and trying to bring it down in any way possible. So we're going to go over the books on my TBR, and then by the end we'll know the final number, how many books I own but haven't read yet. TBR is to be read, so the books that I physically own and need to read. So the first number I'm going to mention is the worst one, 438. If you watched my physical TBR video where I went through every single book that I own and haven't read, there were 438 books on my physical TBR. That's crazy. I know, it's ridiculous. Plenty of people understand because they have it too, but I know a lot of people have like 10 books on their TBR and they see that as overindulgent and wasteful. Yes, but I am who I am. That's what I've decided to spend my money on over the years, and honestly, I'm addicted to book shopping. It brings me so much joy. There is a satisfaction from purchasing a book that is I liken to reading a book. Like, I feel like I've accomplished something by buying it. Like, it satiates my urge to read it. I don't know, it's sick, but book lovers understand. So in my physical TBR video, which I'll have every video mentioned listed down below, they're all in a playlist about building my home library and unhauling and hauling and whatever. So I'll have all those videos listed down below, but the first one was my physical TBR video. I went through every single one, and while I did that, I realized there were so many books that I didn't want anymore. So from 438, I then decided to do an epic unhaul video. In that video, I got rid of 139 unread books. I also have other books that I have read, obviously, but those just aren't a topic of discussion right now or the point of this video. So I got rid of 139 books in that unhaul, which then brought my TBR down to 299 books. In September, I read 5 books. I'm looking at my computer right now. I've got it all in a little spreadsheet, which then brought me down to 294. In October, I didn't do a wrap up, so I did want to share with you now what I read. I don't think I love filming monthly wrap up videos. There's something about having to talk about all the books that's just overwhelming to me. I love talking about books, obviously, but I don't love talking about every single book that I've read, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes I have nothing to say. Even if it's 5-star, 1-star, 3-star, like, I may just not feel like talking about it. So I'm not sure if I'll be doing wrap-ups per se anymore. I really enjoy doing reading vlogs so I can discuss books while I'm reading them and then talk about books specifically for recommendations or things like that, but I don't love doing wrap-ups and having to talk about every book that I read. So I'm just gonna quickly go through them. I read Unburied Carol by Josh Malerman. This book was excellent. I gave it 5 stars. It's a Western. It's categorized as horror, but it's not scary. It's just a super entertaining read following an outlaw, John Moxey, and Carol, a woman who falls into these sleeping comas for days, and her husband knows that she's slept into a coma, but nobody else knows, so he's trying to bury her alive. And John Moxey, the outlaw who dated Carol 25 years ago, hears about it, and he is on his way to rescue her from being buried alive. And it was a great time, and it was 5 stars. Then I read The Changeling by Victor LaValle. This was such a cool read. It follows our main character, Apollo, who is married and has a son, and his wife commits a horrific act and then runs away, and he is trying to find her. But in the beginning, we also follow his history of his parents, and I think his parents' parents, and it starts off as a very normal set in this world book, and then about halfway through it switches to some supernatural stuff. It's a really fun story to follow set in New York City. Our main character Apollo is a used and rare book seller, which is fun. It has a beautiful male friendship. His best friend Patrice and him are so fun to read about. His relationship with his wife, his journey of being a father when he himself grew up without one. It was so beautiful and super weird and cool. Then I read My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I don't own that book, so it does not count to taking off my TBR, but it follows these two girls, 80s pop culture. One of them gets possessed. But mainly it's a story about teenage friendship. It was fun. I listened to the audiobook. It was a good time. Then I read Ghost Story by Peter Straub, specifically because Stephen King said it was the scariest book he's ever read. Again, I did a video on that. This follows a group of older men who feel like there is vengeance being enacted. There's vengeance being enacted upon them. Is that right? I don't know. That's just how it came out. But they committed a crime back in the day and now bad things are happening to them. And they also have this little group called the Chowder Society where they get together and tell each other scary stories, and then one of the friend group dies. And it's spooky and supernatural. It's definitely not the scariest thing ever, like Stephen King said, but horror is very subjective. Then I listened to the audiobook for Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones, another book that wasn't on my physical TBR, so it doesn't count for anything there. But this book, well, it's a novella, was so nutty. Basically, it's this friend group that used to play pranks on each other with a mannequin, and then one day the mannequin gets up and walks away, and then they start dying. And it's really weird and not what you would expect it to be from the synopsis, but I loved it so much. I loved the main character's voice. He's like this teenage boy, and it felt so genuine, and he was so weird, and his thought process was fun to read. Like it kind of reminded me of myself a little bit, like how the train of thought just goes and goes and goes, and but also he was a little crazy. So I love that book, and I've read two short horrors by Stephen Graham Jones now, and I really want to read a full-length novel by him because I love his writing so far. Then I listened to the audiobook for The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I partially read it physically, but mainly listened to the audiobook. I read this in less than 24 hours. It is a thriller. It's kind of dark and weird. We're following three different characters. One of them is a girl who, as a baby, she was found in a house where there was a cult suicide of 3 adults found dead, but then she was the baby who was found there. And now she's 25 and inherits the house that her and the dead family members were found in. And then we're also following some other characters connected to that story, and it is dark and weird, but I thought it was pretty fun, and it was dark without making me too uncomfortable, which I appreciate. And there's actually gonna be a sequel, which is so cool because we don't often get sequels to thrillers, so very excited to read that one next year. And finally, I read The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth, and this is one of those books that I'm just like, I don't feel like talking about. It was 3 stars. It was fine. It's miscategorized as a thriller when it's just like a domestic drama with silly issues. So anyways, moving on. That means I read 5 books in October. Then I also DNF'd, which is did not finish 5 books. So There's Someone Inside Your House, 172 Hours on the Moon, which I see right there. I forgot to pull off the shelf. I'll get that. The Haunting of Ashburn House, and Bad Things, and Come With Me. But Come With Me I bought and returned to the store, so I can't count that off of my physical TBR. With those 4 books, I am taking off my TBR because I started them, did not enjoy them, don't want to continue reading them, so I'm going to get rid of them. Then I self-sabotaged and either bought or was given for my birthday 16 books. Oops. That is another video that I'll post down below, my birthday book haul. Then I purchased one random book after that book haul, which was He Started It by Samantha Downing, because I read For Your Own Good and needed her backlist. And then finally, I unhauled 48 books in my last video, which, okay, hold on. Let me do some math. 257 books. Actually, you're not supposed to say and when you say numbers, because and is the decimal point, so 257 books. That's still a lot. But I started off at 438, so I've reduced it by almost 200 books in just a few or a couple months, so I'm happy with that. It's not everything I dreamed of, but pretty good. And then I'm not counting the books that I read in November yet, because November's not over, so I'll catch you up on that later. But yeah, that's a lot of books. I know. I'm planning on selling my books, probably online, which once I have an idea of where and how to do that, I will let you guys know in case you're interested in them. If you have any experience with selling a large quantity of books, please give me advice. I need it. I have sold books online before, but only like a few at a time, and that was through eBay like 7 years ago. So I don't know if I should use Depop or Amazon, and then I saw a new app on Instagram called Pango, which is like specifically for selling books. So I don't know. I'm overwhelmed by the thought of going to the post office every time I sell a book. That's scary. So, which is why the Amazon warehouse option appeals to me. But then how much does it cost to ship a giant box of books to the warehouse? I have no idea. So if you've sold books online, let me know. Also tell me how many books are on your physical TBR, so that you can either put me to shame or make me feel better if you have more than me. So if you haven't seen that unhaul video, you have to go watch it right now and see all the books that I got rid of, unhaul round number 2. So go enjoy that one, and thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.